Hello everybody and welcome to Wesley's Plant World with me, Wesley Peterson. And today I just wanted to do a little video where I show you me relaxing outside in the area of my garden here at Crystal Cottage called Yorkim's Corner. And I have this little enclave here where I have one specific plant that I'm absolutely loving seeing from my northern exposure windows of my Crystal Cottage, and that is my beautiful plant next to me here. This is my Monstera deliciosa, and this is the large form and it gets very big leaves. And when I first bought it, its leaves that it had were around 60 centimeters around. And well, it had a period in my apartment where it got thrips and it started losing some of its leaves, and I was really worrying about this plant. So I thought, right, I need to get it out of this situation. I need to get it away from all of my other house plants and take it to my cottage where I have far less house plants and put it somewhere where there won't be too many other plants around it. And before I put it in with my other plants, of course, I had it outside and I sprayed it over, and it has bounced back. And the last 2 years I've had this plant out in my garden and it has absolutely loved it. As soon as the temperature at night is around 10 degrees Celsius, then I feel like I can put this plant outside because it copes with that. And it's been outside with the temperature fluctuating up and down below 10 degrees Celsius, sometimes to around 8 degrees Celsius, and it's still coped with that. This plant has grown out the most robust, beautiful leaves since I've been putting it outside every summer. It's in this enclave, as I said. Above it is a huge beech tree, and around I have all sorts of different bushes. So it gets a little bit of dappled light that comes around from the eastern exposure, a tiny bit that comes over the top of the house and down from the south, and then it gets the evening light that penetrates all the way into this corner. So it does get some direct sunlight on it during the evening time for a shorter period of time, and it really loves that. And in fact, this plant is pushing out a whole new leaf for me again. And every summer season, this plant has managed to produce 1 to 2 new leaves, and the ones at the top are getting more and more fenestrations, and now they're around 30-40 centimeters around, but I'm sure these leaves will start getting bigger and bigger again. It started to produce the longest aerial roots around the bottom of the vine, which always happens with these plants. It's inevitable, and I hope they're not going to grow into the ground while it's out here during the summer. And a year ago I actually did a video where I showed you me planting out some Crassula ovata cuttings from my mother plant underneath this plant. And well, you can see this bundle is still going on down here. And you should go back and see that video, how I arranged this together. It works out, even though my Crassula ovata are a plant that need a lot of bright direct sunlight. I decided to plant it with this plant anyway, because I just like the combination. I just didn't want to see soil around the bottom of one vine growing out of the side of this terracotta pot. And well, these are very green, they're very shiny. The only thing that's happened is they've grown taller and thin and leggy. So they're giving me a bush around the top, but they're very thin and leggy, but they're carrying on. So in a moment, I'll be taking you in for a closer look of my Monstera deliciosa, and we can have a look at these Crassula ovata at the same time. And what I do, because they're getting thin and leggy, I go and pinch out all of the tops, the new shoots from the branches, so that this plant doesn't start legging out even more. It has to produce side shoots or stay at the same level. So I do that to ensure the shape, because otherwise it will get out of control and they will just all start laying over and looking, well, not so good at all. So now they're sorted out a little bit more. Now you'll notice that this is a Monstera deliciosa large form, because when you go in for this closer look, you'll see it's got a very thick vine and the internodes between a new leaf are very short, and it has these lovely ripples going on underneath every single leaf that are very pronounced. And I did a video as well about my Monstera deliciosa variety Borsigiana, and the fact that both that plant and this plant, the Monstera deliciosa, the original form, are both the same genus and the same species. So they are the same plant, it's just a variant of the same plant. And when you look at the size of these leaves are kind of the size of the mature leaves of the Monstera deliciosa variety Borsigiana. In fact, they can get a little bit bigger than these ones here. but they won't get as massive as the Monstera deliciosa, the original form, which is this one. So as I said, this plant is enjoying the shade, the dappled light and the rainfall. It rained the other day and this plant is moist in its pot with rainwater, so it's getting lots of nutrients from the rain. And every year that I've put this plant outside, it hasn't been attacked by insects. It's been absolutely fine, and I could always come out here with the hose and spray it over and help it as well, but there hasn't been any bite marks or anything like that in the leaves, so that's very good. So let's go in for a closer look now, because this plant has produced so many different varieties of leaves with different lobes and fenestrations and sizes, and without fenestrations but with lobes and things like that, on just the 4 leaves that the plant has now, and then there's the 5th one on its way out. But I do need to get in before the end of this season and prop this plant up, so I'm actually going to be redoing this at some point in a video where I place it more in the middle of the pot and I'm going to put it on a coconut fiber stake. This plant doesn't need anything else to help it get moisture or anything like that. It's just basically going to be to help me support the plant growing up, because it wants to grow off towards the side, and it's going to look much nicer when I have it up, and I'll have more space to put it back indoors for the long winter period where it's indoors for at least 8 months. Because due to the temperatures here in southern Sweden, even here where I live, it can get to minus 15 degrees Celsius in the winter. This plant can't get anywhere near freezing temperatures, so it only gets to be outside for around 4 months every year. But that period is when this plant produces me 1 to 2 new leaves. So it's very important that it gets this period outside anyway. And the temperatures right now here are absolutely perfect for this plant. It's 27 degrees Celsius during the daytime today, and often it's between the 23 and 32 degrees Celsius, and some days it'll even get up to around 38, 39 degrees a little bit later into July. So this plant will absolutely love this. It's very humid. It gets very humid at night here and very moist, so that's very good for the leaves. And well, it keeps this plant boosted to get it through the long period of time that it needs to be indoors. It's always best to have plants outdoors in a more natural state for them. But this is only a house plant where I live, but I know there are so many vast amounts of places and countries and continents around this world where this plant grows out all over the place in nature and has even become kind of like a weed, but not here. So just quickly, in the pot, the soil is a soil mix that I made myself, a gardening mix with sand, with leckables, with bark, with biochar and all sorts of stuff, and well, that's maintaining this plant. Right, I've said enough. I only wanted to make a quick video to show you me next to my huge, beautiful Monstera deliciosa and how happy it is outdoors. So let's go in now for that closer look at it. So here we go for that close-up. Now look at these amazing leaves. Look at this first one. Lovely fenestrations and lobes all the way along the leaf. Look how amazing they are. And it's lovely seeing the dappled light shining on them as well. So here up at the top we have this leaf. Again with beautiful fenestrations, beautiful leaves, beautiful lobes going on. A very clean, clear, beautiful leaf. And this one too. Look at that. Wow. Just fantastic. It gives me such a beautiful tropical vibe having these plants out in my garden during the summer here in southern Sweden. Can you believe this? And here, look at this leaf. It has no fenestrations, but it has lobes all over. And look how it hangs down and it captures any light that comes through. That's just exquisite. So let's go down now so we can see the new shoot that's coming out. There you go. That is the new leaf on the way out on this petiole. And down here you can see all of those aerial roots growing out all over the place. One snapped off, but the rest are getting pretty big. And down here you can see the beautiful Crassula ovata that I put at the bottom. Still doing fabulous. I mean, look at their leaves. You can't say they're not healthy. They're happy, they're shiny. They look lovely. And I did this last year, so it's a whole year they've been growing underneath my Monstera deliciosa like this, as you can see here. Just beautiful. But we'll just have a little closer look at the Crassula ovata underneath, so you can see that the stems have thinned out at the bottom due to a lack of light, but they're still producing plenty of fantastic leaves on top. So in this situation, keep them pinched out so that they grow thicker stems rather than legging out. And then you should be able to carry on with a beautiful mass like this. So that's the update of my Crassula ovata and my Monstera deliciosa together in one pot after a year as well. Now you can see that it has worked out. So here we go, some weeks later, and I can show you my new leaf unfurling on this beautiful plant here. And it has been raining like crazy here the last many days. So my plant has been getting plenty of rainwater, and this is the new green, lime green, chartreuse green leaf unfurling here. It has lots of fenestrations and lots of lobes in the leaves, and I'm really pleased about that. Let me see if I can get around the back here, because this whole plant is like a jungle here in my garden. So we'll go underneath its canopy, and here we go. There is my newest beautiful leaf growing out. Look at the detail on this. And it's absolutely beautiful with all the droplets of rain. Look at those fenestrations, aren't they amazing? This is going to be a big, beautiful leaf when it's done unfurling. And it's doing so well. And underneath, look at these aerial roots, how they're growing out of the pot. And you can see the whole tray at the bottom is full of water. This plant is absolutely drenched, and it has been like this for days. So I haven't had to water this plant, of course, all summer season out here. And I've tipped out the water out of the tray a couple of times, and I'm not worried about this plant rotting out or anything like that. It will be fine. Before we know it, it will be dried out again here. It's in a terracotta pot, and this is really helping to push out the new leaf, so it's fine for now. You see that aerial root there on the left side, just on its way to reaching down into my border there. I just don't want this to root out in the garden, because it needs to come in very soon, probably within a month's time. So from the top again, all of these beautiful leaves. And even my Crassula ovata that's in a soaked situation out here. Look how lush and green they're doing. And how they're really enjoying being outside. And they're actually coping with the soaked situation very well. And I plucked out all of the small leaves out the top so they don't get thin and leggy. And you can see how they're pushing out new growth on every single top where I plucked out those small leaves. So I need to go in and do that again, because if we look underneath, I need all of these lower stems to get a lot thicker. But otherwise they're doing well. So back to my Monstera here, and that lovely new leaf that's coming out. There we go. And all the rain droplets. And how this plant is coping so well being out in my garden in the middle of August now, 2023. So let's go back to my original video now. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing my beautiful plant closer up and how fabulously it's doing for me. And well, I seem to be doing things right this time, because my plant stays pest free and it's very, very happy. So all I have to say now is thank you very much once again for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up. And I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.